Calculating interest on payday loans. You may have seen storefronts in strip malls where they offer payday loans, and what they do is give you a short-term loan, so from the point where you run out of money until you get your next paycheck, and sometimes one or two paychecks that you can use to pay it back. I hope we all know that the interest on those loans is pretty high, and we should try to avoid that kind of loan if at all possible. There are other ways to get money, like if you go to a regular bank, you might be able to get a signature loan, which is going to be about, I don't know, 13 to 15% interest. But let's see what this kind of a loan would be in terms of an APR. Here's the scenario. You can find a percent APR if you know the short-term interest rate, and then you multiply it by 52 weeks times however long you're going to have the loan for. And so here, suppose you borrow $300 for 2 weeks. So we're talking about 2 weeks here in the form of a payday loan, and the amount of interest you owe is $25 per $100 borrowed. So if we borrow $300 and we have to pay $25 per 100, that's going to be 25 times 3 because there's 300s in 300. So 25 times 3, so we'll be paying $75 for 2 weeks of being able to borrow that money for 2 weeks. Now, I'm not knocking it. Some people have to do this. It's their only recourse, and if they can't get the money, they're going to have their power cut off or their water turned off or something like that. So sometimes you're in a situation where you're totally desperate, and this is a good solution for you. $75 doesn't seem like that much money, but let's take a look. So how much do you owe at the end of 2 weeks? So that'll be the $300 that you borrowed plus the $75, so that'll be $375 owed. And then we're wondering what the APR is. If we have 25 per 100, this is going to give us our short-term interest rate. So it's 25 per 100 is 0.25. That's going to be our short-term interest rate. And so we need that. That's going to be this value. And then we have 52. And then the length of the loan, that was 2 weeks. So we know that. And it turns out you don't even need to know how much you borrowed, because we know what the percent interest is for the short term. And since it's not a full year that we're talking about, that's why we need a formula. So if we're trying to find the APR as a percent, we will take the short-term interest rate, which we determined was 0.25, and we will multiply that by 52 weeks over the term that we were borrowing for, which would be 2 weeks. And so weeks over weeks reduces 52 divided by 2. If you know that, you can rewrite that as 26. And then we're taking 0.25 times 26. So 0.25 times 26. And we get 6.5. I left off on here that this gives us a decimal value, and we do need to multiply by 100. So down here, we'll have to multiply this by 100. It should be updated in your formula. And when we do that, then we end up with 650% is the APR. So if we were to borrow that money on those terms for a full year, we would pay 650% of our original value. So that loan is like extremely, extremely high interest rate. And remember, I told you, like, if you could get credit at a credit union or a bank, you're going to pay probably less than 20% as opposed to 650%. So if you can plan ahead at all and get to a regular bank, that's going to help you save a bunch of money in the end.